I'll be calling you a radical. I hope you can see him. So, God, what timing. Just getting ready to talk about him. The long migration. The incredible migration. From the horseshoe crab, the horseshoe bats. So back to this, my whole hypothesis, which I think it is so absolutely outrageous that if you go against whatever the mainstream narrative, when they'll tell you right to your face they're mystified, they're baffled, they're stumped, if I would have listened to that narrative, I'd be dead. It's given too much to live right there in that freaking room. Almost 10 years ago. I'm getting close. I'm just in here getting my blood in here late today. How perfect is the timing? Kildare, Red Hook, Candlestick. So my hypothesis has always been, and first off I want to say this, but anybody that tries to debunk me, which they've been trying to do for 10 years now, debunk Kevin Blanch's hypothesis. You're telling me the full blown out nuclear meltdowns, core meltdowns, has never happened in the history of mankind. So first off, you're trying to say there is absolutely no byproduct for that. There's no consequences for that. Just the greatest event. And then why are we so afraid of them? Why are we so afraid of meltdowns until they happen? Tell me this. I want to hear all you scientists out there that are baffled, mystified, puzzled, stumped, perplexed, bewildered. You know, every one of you should be rounded up and jailed, I think. At this point, the Fukushima disaster, the denial, my hypothesis has always been the same as Einstein's. We're going to let this genie out of the bottle, and it's going to cause mutations, and it's going to alter the biosphere and everything. The biology of every living thing. Well, won't humans adapt? Albert Einstein. Yeah, in 50 years. So I ran this by my doctor. I had a dream about my cancer right before I got it. I had this utopic dream. I think it's so irony because it was before I realized that Devoto wrote 44. And I'm playing a slot machine. I reach into put some change in a slot machine, and it spit out a handful of change. I'll play slot machines. Kicked out $12. 12. Now remember, kicked out $12.12. So I go in, there's another giant, this biggest slot machine I've ever seen. I put the voucher inside the machine. First pull. It lines up. 44. Devoto smiled. Look up his book. Then this looked like clams. 4 of them. 44, then 4. And it started spitting out money. Spit out 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, 10 million, 100 million. It was the most utopic dream I ever had in my life. I told my doctor, Fimbo, I was misdiagnosed, sent home with de novo. Danish philosophy. He's from Denmark, so am I, so is Vincent. Our bloodlines. That's Danish philosophy. When they told me I was going to die right up there, when they misdiagnosed me, and finally figured it out the third time up here. The first guy, my neighbor, Miss Farr, who CAT scanned me that night, she's dead. She was one of my doctors. She was one of my nurses, not only here, but in the bone marrow transplant. What a radiologist. Heart went young, in good shape. The doctor, she scanned me that night. I was that sick, and obviously he never even read the scan. Sent me home. Third time up here, finally a female doctor started crying. You're plumb full of tumors. I knew through my research and my path that leukemia can present tumors. It's called de novo, and it's deadly. I'm the one that says, what about being this? No. Finally, Vincent, they wanted to gut me. I wouldn't let them. Went into my hip. Back to the blood. It's so important because of the blood. Horseshoe crabs are prehistoric. They're older than dinosaurs. So, COVID. Now, I've always said from the time Fukushima happened, this is going to cause a heat bubble over the United States. It's going to change everything. She's going to fight back. It's going to cause mutations in viruses. I've always said, even before they named it Kobe. COVID-19, Kobe. You know, and I tie everything together, my elasticity of time, you know, right here. When I was a kid, right here, I used to hang around right here. It used to be so hallowed and sacred right here. The horseshoe bat versus the horseshoe crab. So we can't even buck, you know, Charles Lieber, whatever. It's got to be one of the two, right? You can't even spew anything. It's either got to be your Trumpers, and it's got to be from the Wuhan lab in their line just to get him defeated when racism got him defeated. He defeated himself. No one voted for Biden. They voted against Trump. It's irony because Shaq says it better than anyone, Shaquille O'Neal, but he won't mention that his little sister, 40 years old, just died of this very disease that's in my body. We don't vote. Black don't vote, but Trump got us out to vote. So you're either in that camp, or you're in it came from a horseshoe bat. You can't listen to Kevin Blanch, who says the whole time this is a mutation from the Fukushima disaster, and or it's Racing Radio Roundup, and or the SMR that's melting down in China, the SMR. You don't even know about that disaster, do you? 818, which is unarguable. They've admitted there's a freaking SMR, nuclear fast breeder, going on. So they're lying. These are going to be full blown. It's going to give you cancer. It's going to cause a heat bubble over the western United States. It's going to cause the Great Salt Lake to go dry. It's going to plutonium fire. It's going to get into the Pine Needles. It's going to cause fire. It's new. Thus, scientists are mystified. They're baffled by the thousands. We've seen that in print media thousands and thousands of times now. The greatest acute catastrophe collapse to the ecology in history. We don't get dead tide pools. Kevin Blanch does. We don't get dead humans in bone marrow. Oh, Kevin Blanch does. He was almost one of them. I was in the room next to Marshall Jensen. One of the most famous cases in it, contagious leukemia, the HIV. He's the first one in the world to get the ejection. We made the decision that on the day to have the bone marrow transplant the same day. You know, he's dead tragically, but what a pioneer. So, my friend, who I'm head of the support group, you know, I grew up with her. Her 8-year-old son got a respiratory illness in 2018. Went to the clinic, died that night, woke up coughing. We had a major so-called flu epidemic in 2018. Over 50,000 people died of the flu in the United States. Now let's get real. How many people has this killed? The Kobe virus. Fukushima flu, as I call it. Don't buck the narrative, Kevin Blanch. In the United States, it's killed 600 and I believe 50,000. That's about what cancer kills a year. The survival rate, if you get it, is 98%. Now, I got vaxxed. I got vaxxed early. I got J&J. I was one of the first ones to get the J&J vax. My doctor made me. And both like, everything injected in you, you get it. You know, if you plan on traveling, especially if you plan on traveling abroad anyway, you got to have the card now. I got vaxxed. You know, didn't faze me. Vax didn't do shit to me. Didn't make me nothing. I mean, I was like, but you got to realize everything's been injected into my body in the last 10 years. I was hooked up to 22 different drugs inside the bone marrow transplanted LDS going in and out of coma. 22 at once. You don't even want to know. Neupogen shots in my stomach so big that it made my forehead go over a freaking quarter-inch. I have a different hat size post-cancer. How many Neupogen shots in my stomach? Blood transfusions? Horseshoe blood. Let's get back to this. From the Chesapeake. I'm a big fan of Rachel Carson's. I love her. You know, so we go to the migration. The red shorebird, the red nook, flies how many miles? That little guy flies how many miles? And he times it perfect. The horseshoe crabs, they lay their eggs so they can feed on that egg. So the endotoxins, which you got to have them. They use on all these unnecessary freaking surgeries. You all got to have. I got knee surgeries in place, you know, plastic surgery, all these unnecessary surgeries, whatever. They have to have the endotoxin. Where do they get it? Blue crab. What's being made out of the vaccine? Blue crab. Blue crab is the key ingredient in the vax. They're prehistoric. They've been around since dinosaurs. Red Hook know it. The shorebirds know it. We won't listen to them. We won't listen to them. We won't listen to the. They've been around so much longer than any of us ever thought of them. The horseshoe crab are how many millions of years old? So we abuse the shit out of them. We treat them like hell on the Chesapeake. Well, yet they save us when we don't save them. Did it come from a horseshoe bat? Did the bat swoop in? I mean, there's the other animal with the incredible, unbelievable humans. It's like a redwood. Well, they cut down the oldest one in Utah. Just like they killed the greatest, biggest buck, mule deer, just for fun. Auction them off, they're down. That's what they do, just respect for the ecology, for the animals. Yet they save us. But we don't save them. We don't do shit for them. I fight for her, she fights for me, the ecology. I walked this coast. I was sent home with hospice. I was too sick for a transplant. I was dying. After multiple rounds of chemo, I have ML de Novo OS with a marker of 44. Anything over 23 is a death sentence. They couldn't figure out. They put in the wrong, going in and out of a coma. I'll never forget one of the nurses says, Kevin, let the cancer be the cure. You're freaking fighting. She says, but you already know that. What you're doing, what you're watching, you are the cure. You part of the disease or you part of the cure. But don't buck their narrative, whatever you do. The corporatists, yeah, with trust. I thought trust was earned. This virus, I believe, started to mutate in 2011, 2012. We have contagious leukemia in the crab. So this is important because the crab have absolutely collapsed on the Columbia. You go talk to anybody, you know, that's me and Tim. We call up, there's anybody dying of demonic acid from crab. Yeah. Washington didn't even open it. The natives recalled all theirs this year. Freaking the crab pots in San Francisco, they're not catching shit. They're not even any crabs. The salmon have collapsed that tight. All a coincidence. Coincidence doesn't get it in science. What Kevin Blanch has done. First, you hypothesize the knowledge. This is a freaking unforeseen event in the history of mankind. These meltdowns are going to change every piece of DNA, every biology in the history of the earth. Ever. All the foresaid has came true. It's not hypothesis anymore. Then you do the field work. I did 10 years of field work. I've done my sentence. I committed no fucking crime. Bad mistakes? Oh, I made a few. It's like the Great Salt Lake. Gonna go dry. Oh, it wasn't dry in 2011. Why the Weber River flood? Why did I go skiing right there at Basin on 4th of July in 2010? The Great Salt Lake was actually above normal levels in 2011, 2012. Acute radical collapse. Acute radical collapse of the Great Pacific Genocide, the greatest PhD in human history. Horseshoe bat to horseshoe crab. Did it get into the fish? Did it get into the animals and the bat ate the fish and then somebody ate the bat? Did they mess around with the Ricken lab, the Wuhan lab, the freaking Livermorium, Tennessean, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, bringing star power to Earth, Livermore, California. Oh, the sun could give you cancer from 93 million miles away. We have suns of the Pacific Ocean. Kamala Harris's mother, the epidemiologist at Livermore, California, bringing star power to Earth. She died of cancer in 2009. I've protested there so many times. I've been predicting this for years. What's going to happen? Where's it going to happen? You keep saying it. It's going to happen at Fukushima, Japan, or it's going to happen at Diablo Canyon, California, or it's going to happen at Synonym Free, San Diego County. That's where it's going to happen. Why? Because they're on the ring of fire. TikTok, because we get earthquakes and we get tsunamis. That's why it's named Diablo Canyon. There was a tsunami there when the Spanish mass murders. You need to learn to speak American. America Vespucci spoke Italiano. I did lectures at his grave in Florence, Italy. Germ theory, atom theory. Throw semi-wise Kevin Blanch into a fucking padded room and beat him to death. All the fucking true great scientists are always spit on and dissed and disrespected. Go along with the political narrative. One Trumpers versus Obamacans when they're the same, cover up Fukushima. It's the greatest event in human history. This virus mutated from these meltdowns. There's no doubt in my mind. And it's been mutating. It finally capitulated. Let's hope it capitulated in 2019. Kobe. Kobe means great in Japanese. It means great. It means great. There have been more species and more animals collapse and die in the past 10 years than the previous 2 million years combined. The redwoods, well, they're trying to survive. The chainsaw took most of those. The horseshoe crabs, the same people that cut down the redwoods. Yep, you rely on them to save you. Was it a horseshoe bat? Those incredible immune system, one of the greatest immune systems on the planet, the species. Rachel Carson. Kevin Blanch, you're the modern day Rachel Carson. You know, she martyred herself. I'm not martyring myself for anybody. I want to watch my grandchildren grow. There's no doubt in my mind. But yet you cannot put out this narrative because they'll burn the books. They threw Semmelweis after he proved germ theory in a rubber room and beat him to death in Vienna. All roads lead to Vienna, all roads lead to Ogden, Utah. So, the endotoxin. That's where this comes from, Kobe. And the elasticity of time, you know, I use the basketball metaphor, rightfully so, rightfully so. You know, you can deny my work all you want. Just the greatest PhD in human history. And if you don't think the Fukushima disaster, oh, you forgot about it. It didn't forget about you. This thing is freaking ongoing. You know, because Barry Antoinette Obama made the decision. They sent 32 ships into entomb at USS Reagan. I was in the hospital right here with one of the kids from USS Reagan. He got leukemia. He died in 2012. But you don't care. You're just going along with whatever political narrative, dogma reinforcement. Fukushima denial is the greatest mental illness in human history, and oh, it's deadly. Where'd you sleep last night? Don't you fucking lie to me. I slept in the dead fucking pines with the sons of Fukushima, Japan. Oh, they always shine. Put yourself in your happy place right here when I have my PET scan. I says, I'm in my happy place. Right here, this should be Glassman Pond. I used to hang around. These most beautiful house. Skinny dipping with some girls, drinking some beer, hanging around. That's what we used to do here. I'm in my happy place right here. After the open heart surgery, after the chemo work, my valve, I had the mushroom root. It got rid of the cancer miraculously. That was a miracle I experimented on, but it ate up my valve. It ate up my gallbladder. Teeth are gone. The emergency open heart. Mike Lee kicks me off Medicaid. You don't think that's attempted murder after I forked over $1 million? They wouldn't treat me. I'd go to Ogden Regional Medical Center, bleeding, just profusely. Michael Hawkins, who represented himself as a doctor, apparently he's a chiropractor, told me I ran the test. Go see your chiropractor. Go see your dentist. He's a chiropractor. I collapsed the next day on Easter Sunday. I don't know how I got up here. I get up here to the emergency room, right here, and the kid's like, Dr. Blanch, you're the best professor I ever had. I was a student adjunct professor when we were the #1 school business. I said, you're a doctor? Yeah. A real one or a kind? No. Got me in. Dr. Cloud, get in a wheelchair. Your valve's completely gone. I don't know how you're alive. Rip me open, pour me out, split me open. 5 years ago today, I was hiking to the top of the fucking Duomo in fucking Italy. Excuse me, 4 years ago today. Right after, I told Collado, I was right here, I says, if I can hike the top of the Duomo, just 2 months after freaking open heart surgery, you can do it. It's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey. But there's no doubt in my mind that this has been mutating for a while now. The flu epidemic of 2018, it's not mutually exclusive. Freaking, it's all connected. It's all connected. You know? The old ills as they migrate. Rachel Carson on Balco. She was right the whole time. It cost her her life. She martyred herself. She got cancer. Dow Chemical killed her. The old Chesapeake. The old Glassman Pond. Last blue heron I saw, I think, was right here. On the hospital pond. Oh, the last swallow. What we've done. But you can't even talk about it. They'll take your site down. They'll burn the books. First you hypothesize knowledge. You can't be afraid to be wrong. I've had to turn to private funding because the university won't fund me. Nobody will fund me because you're bucking the nuclear energy, the Roundup freaks. So what did I had to go rogue. I had to do flipping the can, fuck, hold retention. Whoa, how effective was that? My toothpaste out? Of course, Donald J. Trump, who is nothing but Barack Obama, they're identical, come from Fukushima, fucking twins. Who knew that my best trait would be killing people? Barack Obama, 2012. Think he's talking about Fukushima? He knows. They all know. They don't care. You think COVID affected your life? Wicked. Huh. It's not the Spanish flu. We can't even talk about that. Spanish flu, it didn't come from Spain. Was it a biological weapon in France, or was it a feedlot in freaking Kansas? Show them Kansas when they're coming home from World War. The Browning gun. The gassers. The nerve gas stored right there. Our world's the doctor. No doubt in my mind, it's fucking mutation from the biological weapons of war. Nuclear energy crime syndicate, the untouchables. You can't even go at them. You can't even talk about them. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. The migration. That shorebird migrates from how many miles to feed on the horseshoe crab eggs? How can the crabs lay eggs? How can the sea turtles lay their eggs? How can they lay their eggs? When the dog walkers Charlie and Mimi on the beach, they can. They got to save you. But we refuse to save her. What a one-way street. What a bunch of bully, ignorant pricks. It's the ecology, stupid. Absolutely no doubt in my fucking mind. My work's proved it all. The Great Pacific Genocide, the greatest PhD in human history. You can deny my work all you want. Thank you, everybody who's funded this. I've had to turn to private. And to everybody that attacked my own government. My own government, they hired trolls to viciously attack me. You picked on the wrong dude. As my doctor said one day. They know who they're messing with. You've been fighting the biggest bully in the history of the world. The Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate? No, they're number 2. ML de Nouveau Leukemia. I fight for her, the ecology. She fights for me from the sea. We're all connected. There's no doubt. Kobe, they know the world. I got chased out of Geneva, loaded on a train. There he is. He's back. Loaded on a train for protesting inside the world of Fukushima this very in 2015. Literally chased out of the city. It was something right out of a movie. What about the tape, Your Honor? The Fukushima flu. It's been mutating since 2011. And our answer is the new, well, I'll say it like this. Copenhagen, Hans Christian Andersen. Christian Andersen's my real great-grandpa. That's his name. He's adopted from Denmark. The nuclear emperor has no fucking clothes. Stand tuned.